is Jen, and I'd like to welcome you to my little corner of the internet here. I started posting over here on YouTube as part of Vlogmas 2024, and I have a few other things that I wanted to share during Vlogmas that I didn't quite get to yet, or other things that I filmed during Vlogmas that didn't really fit into that particular day's video, especially around the fiber arts world. So I thought, well, we're going to see where this takes us. I can't promise that I'm going to post with any sense of regularity over here, but we'll see. So if we haven't met before, my name is Jen. I am ndjen04 on Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time on social media. I'm over on Ravelry under the same name as well, and here on YouTube as ndjen. I don't have a name for this channel. I'm not really sure where this is going, but like I said, I have some things that didn't quite fit into Vlogmas that I wanted to share, particularly in the fiber arts world. And chances are, if our paths have crossed before online, it was in the knitting and fiber arts world. I guess I still am the host of the On Again, Off Again, currently Off Again Commuter Knitter audio podcast. I started that about it'll be 13 years in February, where I shared my knitting projects and things like that. And I've been kind of more active on social media and not quite as active on the podcast itself recently. But again, dipped my toe into posting on YouTube here as part of Vlogmas this year. And I still have a few things to say. So I decided I'm going to turn on the camera and see where this takes us. This first video will be about my Scrappy blanket projects, in particular, the ones I am making for my two kids, Zelda and Aurora. They are twins. They are about 8 years old, about to be 9 years old in the beginning of the year. You will have seen them if you followed along on our Vlogmas adventures. They were opening my Yarny countdown calendars over the course of December, and yeah, they're the stars of the show, if you will. And I'm currently working on some Scrappy blankets for both of them, and thought I will journal my progress around that. So I did film a little bit of kind of an intro, or what is the word I'm looking for? A little bit of an overview of all of my Scrappy blankets. As someone who said she'd never make a Scrappy blanket, I've got three crochet ones and a knit one going right now. And I did film, kind of an overview of them during Vlogmas, back when I was pulling the projects out and I was going through that. You will have seen probably just a clip with some music and maybe some words over that. So I will insert that here. So while I have this out, I thought I'd take a quick video of it. This project is always so challenging to photograph to really get the full effect. This is the DK Jelly Roll Blanket. It is a pattern by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears, and I was inspired by Sue and Chelsea of Legacy Fiber Arts a couple years ago, or maybe it was early 2023. I'll have to check again. I'll put it on the screen. But Sue and Chelsea of Legacy Fiber Arts were knitting these up, and I will tell you, I was not the biggest, well, let's just put it this way. I held off doing any kind of Scrappy project for a very long time, just because, well, I know they take a long time. I have I wouldn't say a bad habit. Let's just put it this way. I get very distracted by new and shiny things, and I'm very much a process. When it comes to crafting, I'm very much a process person. I enjoy the act of knitting and crochet and cross stitch and all the things. And so the finishing is not my strongest suit. Plus, there's a lot of ends to weave in here, although here, I've been keeping up. So anyway, I resisted Scrappy projects for a very long time. Part of the reason is, and if you've listened to the audio podcast or we've known each other online, here's that Mario blanket. I'll post a picture of it all spread out in its glory here. That crochet granny square blanket took me on and off quite a few years to make, and I think that kind of set the stage for me for kind of scrappy projects. But anyway, I will admit, since then, I have started numerous other scrappy projects, which I'll show you as I go through them. But this one I absolutely adore. It is a mix of yarns from various projects of mine, as well as some DK countdown calendars. And then Sue and Chelsea also did for I want to say about a year and a half plus, or maybe for almost 2 full years, they did a DK mini club. So there's some of those yarns mixed in here. So it's a memories and new yarns, and it is just, I find it a lot of fun. So for example, this yarn here was some yarn I picked up in New Hampshire about a week or so after I found out I was expecting. We didn't know we were having twins at that point yet, but we just knew there was a baby on the way, and that's some of that yarn there. This was a sweater I knitted for myself when I was pregnant. I know the yarn from the sweater I'm wearing is in here somewhere. I think that's this right here, along with a number of other yarns. Again, longtime listeners of the podcast, Rock Creek Park was a colorway I used to knit Aurora a sweater, and I used to share clips of the girls talking about the projects I was making them, and Aurora was very enthusiastic about Rock Creek Park. This column here is was the 12 Days of Hip Hop countdown calendar from Lola Bean Yarn Company a couple years ago. And I think when I was first starting, I would do kind of my leftovers, some new minis. So this is all Legacy Fiber Arts here. I love this colorway. I love them all really, but this is, pink is my favorite color, and I adore this one. So, you know, lots of fun. Again, a mix of new yarns. So you've seen Zelda wear her poncho. That's this colorway here. So yeah, lots and lots of fun. Lots of fun memories. But the other thing, I have to do a little bit of repair here, because when in my haste probably to get all the stuff upstairs, that I should learn to put needle stoppers. Really, that's what I should do. But this is an easy fix because this is all garter stitch. I did grab the stitch that connects here, and I'll just have to go back a couple rows until I get to that part and fix this. I love this bright. I can't remember who this is from. Again, I'll put it on the screen, but it's part of a sweater I have not finished yet. A rainbow sweater that I was making. I think that was by Yelly Knits. I'll have to, again, put the details on the screen or link it down below. But yeah, fun, scrappy project. All right, here is another one of my scrappy blankets. I started this one earlier this year in January, and initially I was just crocheting solid granny squares with no real plan in mind. We went through a stretch at the beginning of this year where the kids were constantly sick. We literally rang in the new year with them having strep, and then we went back and forth for literally 6 weeks until about Valentine's Day with they each had strep a second time, and they had COVID in there mixed in. And so between that and a lot of, kind of stressful stuff going on at work, I only had energy for crocheting squares. And so I was just crocheting square after square after square, not really sure what I was going to do with it. And then I'm sure I put some, asked my Instagram, knitting and crochet fiber arts friends, we'll call them, for some ideas. And I eventually landed on this kind of checkerboard pattern. I am using some Lola Bean Yarn Company, upside down here, Lola Bean Yarn Company in the, the Forgiveness colorway in Adela's Pinto Bean, which is just a DK weight yarn. As I have my contrast color here, I had, what would be a sweater's quantity in my yarn collection that would work. And then I'm doing a join as you go. Well, is it a join as you go? I don't know. There was a YouTube video which I've linked in my Ravelry project page, which I will also link below here in case you're not on Ravelry. So yeah, this is another one I am working up. I'm doing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I do 4 rounds of the granny square, and then on the 5th round is when I am joining. Let's see if I can get to the end where I'm joining here. So I'm just joining, you know, so the next square I'll do is the gray, and I'll join it here. So it's not a join as you go, which another one well, I guess it is join as you go. My point is that Mario blanket, I didn't know what I was doing. I had just I think that was the project I used to teach myself how to crochet, to be honest, if memory serves me correctly. So I don't know what I know now. And so I knew I didn't want to have to sew it all together. Again, just like with the jelly roll, I love that it's an attach as you go kind of thing. I do keep up periodically with the ends. So, you know, a lot of the ends are already woven in. Some still need to be done. So depending on what I have the energy for, if this is a project I'm picking up, I do that. So yeah, another scrappy blanket project. Again, with leftovers from I started with leftovers from the jelly roll, and then I've been adding more in as you go. I think, well, I'll put it on the screen how many grams. I think these take about 7, maybe 10, maybe, I think the 4 rounds takes, no, I shouldn't try to do this part from memory. It either takes 7 or 10 grams for this size square. So yeah, anyway, lots of fun. All right, now if you're keeping score, this is Scrappy blanket number 3. Because again, earlier this year, as I was working on my gray one that I just showed you, of course, Zelda said, Mom, you still have some of these colors left. Can you make me one too? And I said, sure. And I went through, again, some of the yarn that I had to figure out what I was going to do for kind of the in-between, because she did want a checkerboard just like I had. I am doing smaller squares, so I do 3 rounds, and then I'm using the 4th round as my joining round here. This is also a Lola Bean colorway. I think it's called, let me see, do I have oh, I do have a skein of it over here. Oh, I can't read it. I'm a little lad who loves berries and cream. So again, I had purchased this, I think, to knit a sweater for the girls. And yeah, it's working out well for this, nice and colorful. And again, she loves it. In fact, I had to go get it from her room. So even though it is clearly not big enough yet to be a full-size blanket, and lots of ends in the last row to still weave in, she had it in her room because she was using it as a little, just either to snuggle with or something. But yeah, so trying to work my way through kind of the leftovers of the minis and the leftovers from the projects, and even some newer projects. So for example, Zelda's picture day sweater this year was this one, which is the Trolla colorway. As you might guess, I love Legacy Fiber Arts and Lola Bean Yarn Company. Probably take the top spots if I were to, you know, look at all the yarn that I have. Of course, I love a lot of indie dyers too. There's a lot of other indie dyers represented here, but you know, Sue and Chelsea and Adela are some of my favorites, as you can see from the advents that I have this year as well. So this is number 3. All right, and last but not least, my most recent start for a Scrappy blanket. This one is for Aurora, and she did not want the checkerboard pattern, which is actually good because I did not have enough yarn in any particular colorway to do a full checkerboard. Again, assuming my math is correct on what I've calculated for for Zelda's size blanket, because I'm doing the same size squares I'm doing for Zelda. And again, I'll link the video I was using kind of as my guide as far as joining this one. So what I am doing is I am crocheting the squares across, just the squares. And then I am using a contrast color to join as you go. And it's been a bit since I picked this up. we had a little bout of illness in our house in November. That kind of threw me for a loop. I would love, so those other three blankets have been on the go for quite some time with kind of no end date in mind, but my little bit of competitive streak in me wants to see if I could finish this one for the Down Cellar Studio Pigskin party that Boston Jen hosts each year, because I did start this one after the Pigskin party started in September, and I did have a spreadsheet going, and I was on track that I had to do 18, I think I was up to the point where I had to do about 18 squares a week to get it done, which seems reasonable. I'll have to update the spreadsheet because I haven't touched it in a few weeks to see where I am with that. But anyway, I'll link the video, like I said, for the joining part. So basically I have the squares, and then I kind of, here, let me talk about, I don't remember how you start it, but I know for like the next row, for example. So I'm at a next row, and I've got a couple squares already started. So what I would do is crochet across. So I'm going to have, the next row of squares. So I'm going to crochet across. I don't remember if I'm going left to right or right to left. And then, you kind of fill in the next part across there. Again, I'm not explaining it well, but I will link the video that I followed. And then each row, so Aurora loves the number 7. That is her thing. And in fact, this blanket will be a multiple of 7. So it's 14 squares across. And she wants it to be 21 rows long. And she has picked 7 different colors to do the borders. So I'm on, I'm going to do, the next one is going to be number 5, 6, 7, and then I'll repeat three times. So this will be a very Aurora blanket. You'll see some stitch markers here, because these are the colors. Because I did tell her, I said, listen, that is a lot of squares, and she did the math. It's 294, I think she told me. She did the multiplication. 294 squares. And I said to her, I said, listen, I don't think I have, that many, yarns. I mean, I'm going to have the Advents calendars, the countdown calendars for this year. And, I'm sure I've got a lot, but there's some colors that she absolutely loves. So you'll see the Rock Creek Park from her sweater. She loves the color purple. So anything that has a stitch marker on it, I'm allowed to repeat. So at some point in the blanket, which is going to be helpful because it's a lot of squares. So we'll see. Like I said, I'll have to do my calculations. If I get it done before I'm putting this video together, I'll put it up on the screen. But yeah, so that is Scrappy blanket number 4 from yours truly, who resisted the Scrappy blanket urge for quite some time. But as you can see, I'm enjoying it. The kids are enjoying it. And we'll, at the end of the day, whenever these get done, end up with some really cozy blankets to snuggle with. Okay, so those are all 4 of the blanket projects that are currently just going right now. I haven't worked on them solidly for a while. I was really focused on Aurora's blanket because I do want to finish that one for the Down Cellar Studio Pigskin party, which wraps up in mid-February around the Super Bowl. It follows the length of the Professional National Football League season here in the United States. Jen hosts that. She's hosted it for a number of years now, and it's one of my favorite make-alongs. And right now it's the only make-along that I am, actively participating in. Is I use that term loosely because, again, sometimes the knitting and the crochet fall by the wayside, as they did in the month of November when we had a lot of other stuff going on home-wise and kid-wise and all sorts of things. But now I really do want to focus on that. And I believe, I should have watched that footage before sitting down to record this, but I believe I mentioned for Aurora's blanket in particular, I had a spreadsheet going. So I did update that spreadsheet this morning just to kind of gauge and see, is it realistic that I could finish this blanket by, I think, February 10th or 11th? Maybe it's the 10th or 11th is the end date. I'll have to go look. I'll put it on the screen to see when the end date is. But I have a spreadsheet that gave me kind of an overview, and Aurora helped me a little bit with the math. And I've got to do 38 squares a week in order to keep up and keep the pace to get this done by the end of the make along. So we did the math. It's between 5 and 6 squares that I have to crochet each day, but I'm also attaching the squares. And actually I have the blanket here so I can show you what it is. So as you will have seen in the clip, it's just little crochet granny squares. I'm using all sorts of DK weight yarn, whether it's stash yarn or it's mini skeins. And now I'm adding the skeins from the countdown calendars that we just opened in December. And I have another one that's a 12-day that we're doing over the course of the 12 days of Christmas that we've been opening together, the girls and I, each day. So each kid just has, they each only have one to open, and we rotate who is opening which one. So as of today, which is Monday, December 30th, which I only know that because I'm working remotely this week. I did not take this week off. The kids are home from school, but that's the only reason I know what day it is. Otherwise, we're in that in between Christmas and New Year's where what day is today? Is it a weekday? What's going on? So as of today, we have 4 complete rows, and it's 14 squares across, which, as Aurora figured out this morning as we were counting together, 4 times 14 is 56. And she wants this to be 21 rows. So I've got 17 rows of 14 to go. And I've got a handful of squares that I've already crocheted up, but I haven't attached yet. I usually wait until I have the full 14 to attach. And then I do a continuous join as you go, which again, I will link that technique that I'm using, the video that I'm following down below, because I'm gonna have to watch it again because it's been a few weeks since I've actually attached any squares to this blanket. But I think I can use the Pigskin party as motivation to get this one done. So we will see what the progress is. The girls definitely want to use all of the yarns from the 2 countdown calendars. So I had the Legacy Fiber Arts, and I also had the Lola Bean countdown calendar, the full 25 days countdowns that you would have seen in Vlogmas if you were following along there, that we've opened. I've got these 12 days of the cookie swap countdown from Legacy Fiber Arts from this year. And I also have last year's countdown calendar from Legacy Fiber Arts as well. That one was a very beautiful, I think it was like a North Pole themed. There was a coloring sheet that came with it, and all the different yarns had different names relating to the holidays and the North Pole and things like that. Which I was saving for maybe just do a project on its own, but I pulled it out yesterday and decided, you know what, I'm going to incorporate that. It's a lot of squares. It's 200 and it's a lot. I'll put it on the screen. If Aurora were here with me, she would know off the top of her head how many squares total this one is going to be. But it is a lot of squares. So I'm going to need all the minis that I can get. Each square, I'll put it on the screen how many grams each square takes, because I did do the math for what each kind of interior piece takes, and then what the border for each row takes. Aurora loves the number 7. That is she calls it her favorite lucky number. And so I'm incorporating a lot of multiples of 7. So it's 14 squares by 21 squares. And then I'm using 7 different full skeins of DK weight yarn to do the border. So I've got 4 of the 7 done. And then once I get through, I'll repeat that 2 more times for that. So it's a very Aurora blanket as far as, you know, her input there. You will see these stitch markers here. I don't remember if I mentioned this in the other video clip, but if I need to repeat colors, she's given me permission on these are yarns that I definitely, it's not just a mini that I had, but I definitely have enough with each 20-gram mini to get her square done. And then I also have Zelda's blanket here. Of course, my crochet hook is kind of attached here because I am in the middle of one of the skeins. This is from the Legacy Fiber Arts. This one is Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. And the only reason I remember that one is when we were opening it, the girls were very excited about it. Plus it looks like the cover of Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. Sue did an amazing job kind of matching the colors of the covers of these books and whatnot. Similarly, Adela did the same with her sneaker countdown for the Lullaby countdown. But I will say I'm not a big sneaker enthusiast, so I can't readily remember which name went with which color there. But Zelda's is one where I'm doing a checkerboard pattern. Again, you will have seen kind of this all laid out. Hers is 13 squares across because with the checkerboard, she wanted it to end. So this is the first row here, right? She wanted it to end with the contrast color. You know, so hers has to be an odd number of squares. And she, as a budding Taylor Swift fan, realized that Taylor Swift's favorite number is 13. And so she also wanted hers to be 13. I'm like, are you sure 13? Because I think I started at 11. And then she decided she wanted it a little bit bigger, but I thought, gosh, I don't know if I could do 15, although I'm doing 14 for Aurora. But she said, no, Mom, 13, like Taylor Swift. And so hers are just the full square without a border, and I am then joining them. Where is my little, oh, here's one. So I did these two squares last night. This was not from the any of the countdown calendar. So I do 4 rounds, and then I use the 5th round to join it. Well, in this case, I joined here, and then on this square, I did the 4 rounds, and then I joined these 2 sides, and then the next square, I'll do 4 rounds, and I'll join these 2 sides, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all the way down the row, whereas Aurora's is more of a continuous join as you go method. So for Zelda's, I'm a bit further because I started hers sooner, earlier last year. So this one will not count for the Pigskin party because it has to be started after the September start date of that make-along in order to count for points for that. But I think I'm going to keep working on Zelda's concurrently just so I can kind of get them done around the same time. So she already has, 2, 4, 6, 7 full rows. So I'm on the 8th row of hers, and I'll have to ask her how big she wants hers to be. She did not tell me how long she wanted hers to be, but we're going to keep going and see where we go from there. So again, I wanted to at least share that footage from the blankets, the Scrappy blankets. I had a few people ask me because I did post, I think I posted in my Instagram stories that day when I was filming that footage, and I definitely wanted to include it in the Vlogmas, but it just didn't fit in that video. So I thought, well, let me just make a separate video. And then that turned into, well, let's just kind of catalog my progress as I go along. Maybe that'll help me motivate. Like, okay, if I do a periodic update, again, can't make any promises with how regular that will be, but if I can periodically update on my progress and where we are, and kind of using the Pigskin party to help me motivated on Aurora's, which will in turn help me keep motivated on Zelda's, because for anyone who's a caregiver of multiple children, whether they're twins or not, we all know sometimes there's a little bit of that, well, she got that, so I do try to finish things as close to each other as possible. So we'll see where that goes. If you're interested in following me along, do the thing, the YouTube thing, the like, the subscribe, all the things. Tell a friend if you will. We'll see where that goes. Thank you again for spending this little bit of time with me, chatting and rambling about my Scrappy blanket projects. And Happy New Year, and we'll see where this takes us. Bye-bye.
Six is chicka chicka boom, chicka chicka boom, chicka chicka boom.
Well, that was good. I bumped the thing before I went to go turn it off. Hopefully I can edit that out.